All right, so I'm in the shop today and I'm gonna do a video that a lot of you guys have written me and asked for a long time. And I haven't done it because it's kind of like, I don't get around to doing this very often. Usually I'm doing bead locks, which is just locking a wheel to a tire. We've talked about it before and I have videos on that. Today's video is about gluing tires and how to glue them properly without making a huge mess. Now, there are tons of ways to do this. Everybody has their own method. So, I'm not saying one way is right or one way is wrong. I'm just giving you some personal experience from what I've done. Now, before I go any further, it is winter time, and this is at the time of this filming. For me, it's winter time. This is a great opportunity to bust out these 3.8 inch slingshots. These are from Proline. I bought these at my local hobby store, PM Hobby, probably 2 years ago, and they've been sitting on my wall waiting for an opportunity to be built and used. Now, these rims right here are 17 mil hex on the back. You can see there. Monster truck tire basically, and they are not a bead lock. They do have two lips on either side of the rim. These lips are where the bead of the tire are going to fit. For those that don't know what a bead of the tire is, this inside lip right here, the one that goes around the inside, is the bead of the tire. This foam is just a cheap old stock foam that comes with the tire. In fact, it's been sitting in the tire for such a long time. That's why it's got 2 yellow marks on it. So, piece of cake. I'm going to move forward pretty swiftly on this so you can see how it's done, and you'll realize it's not really an intimidating process at all. Now, one thing you want to consider is if you're running extremely high speed or high torque or just your wheels are moving quick, this soft pliable rubber will balloon. So if you want to take a piece of tape, like duct tape or Gorilla Tape, and tape the inside all the way around, that will help it from stretching too far. I'm not too worried. It's pretty cold outside right now, so this is going to be shrinking anyway, so I'm not going to do the tape method. First things first, make sure you know the direction of your tire tread. Remember, slingshots or paddle tires or anything like this, they want to be turning and biting into the snow like this, not this way. Because if you're going that way, it's not really a paddle, it's not doing much at all. This way, it's scooping everything up and gaining traction. So if you're doing directional tires, you'll remember you're going to have one on the left. If this is the front of your vehicle, you're going to have one on the left, one on the right, and back left. Why I even show that is your hex. You have to remember when you're building tires to face the hex in the direction of the actual axle stubs, right? Or else you're going to end up with 4 tires all the same, and that doesn't work at all. So, I digress. Let me go here to show you that I'm stuffing the oversized foam inside the tire. Kind of stretching it out as best as I can. Making sure that it's underneath the bead. There you go. So the bead is on the outside all the way around. And I could keep massaging this, making sure it looks nice and even. I'm not too worried about that right now. And there, same on this side. Still keeping in mind the direction of the tread. I'm going to introduce, and here's what I'm doing. I'm pushing the lip onto the inside of this hole. And then I'm stretching the foam and stretching the rubber at the same time as I turn my fingers. And right like that, I'm able to get it, the rim inside, and I'm not pushing the foam out the other side. Okay? Stretching, pushing the foam down around the rim. And really, I'm trying to make sure everything is even on both sides. Ta-da! Just like this. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is this bead, you can see it's kind of stretching into place just like this. Right? I'm going to just leave it like that for a moment. I'll do the other side. Yeah, everything looks good. And I'm going to push it past that first lip. Remember I was talking about where the bead sits. So here's the front of the tire. This is going to be the most critical area because we don't want any sloppy runs from the glue or anything getting down there. So I'll actually do this side for you guys first. Stretching everything out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is make sure the bead is accessible without that foam being in the way. See, everything's on the outside here. Outside, outside, outside. And then I'm gonna make sure this is nice and clean. No oils or grease on this at all. and introduce the glue. The glue I'm using is by Loctite. It's 435. This is instant adhesive. If you get this on your fingers or in your eye or anywhere around your face or your hair or your clothes or anything like that, bad things can happen, right? You don't want your skin getting stuck together or anything, so be very, very careful when using something like Loctite or any kind of super tire glue. You can dissolve it with some things like nail polish remover. It takes forever though. My advice is just be careful. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going along the lip on the inside where this actual raised piece of plastic is, around the rim, and that is where I'm putting my bead of glue. Let's see if you can see that. Yep. So you'll see I'm leaving the front up this area nice and clean, and the reason why is because that glue is now sitting around that lip waiting for the inside bead to snap up on there. That way when it pushes it out, it's not going to like gush out like in excess around the rubber. Okay, I got a little bit over there, not too bad. I'm pushing down the rim, pushing down the rubber to make sure all the rubber is basically going in evenly. Now, you gotta move quick with this stuff because being instant adhesive can be a bit tough. Oh, looking good, looking good. Okay, so as the light is proper, there we go. A little high right there. Not too bad, pushed into place, inspecting around, and not a lot of overage. Now I'm gonna leave this for about 10 minutes, and then I'm gonna do the other side. So here is the front. The front is a critical place. You wanna make sure everything looks nice. So I'm doing the same thing as I did behind, moving the bead behind the bead lip. Gonna go and make sure that it's all cleaned out there. No extra foam bits or anything. And then in goes the Loctite. Okay, so I have it all the way around. Same thing, going to put my fingers on the inside. Fortunately, these paddle tires are very easy to pull and stretch around. Pushing down on the inside rim. Introducing that bead to the bead lip area. There we are. And so what I'm going to do, just like I did in the last side, push it down. Yeah, making sure it's mounted well. Try not to get any on my fingers. Pushing it down. Nice. And then I'm just going to kind of hold it for a few minutes like this around the whole outside. But I'm not going to squeeze too hard because I don't want it to ooze out. Okay, so a lot of people will see this excess glue and be tempted to get in there with a cloth and just start wiping it out. No, 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 no. What you want to do is just leave it, because if you get in there with one of these cloths or some sort of paper towel, when you wipe it, apart from a possible chemical reaction with the type of cloth you're using, it will also just cause a smear mark with a whole bunch of the fibers from the cloth. And that's terrible when you've done such a good job and then all of a sudden you've got excess pieces of cloth in there and it just looks terrible. So, but there you go. This is basically almost dry. I'm going to let it keep drying for a little while and then I can mount it up. There we go. Looking good. Hey, wait a second. Those aren't my paddle tires. Those are Badlands, and they're currently installed on my Savage Flux HP. It's a 1/8 scale electric monster truck that actually has a quad body. This is one of the limited edition quad bodies that they had done for the Savage years ago. Getting harder to find, but I figured if I was gonna put paddle tires on something, it may as well be a quad, wouldn't you think? So these Badlands, they are awesome. They are very good tires. They're a little bit small on this monster truck. Normally I have them on my Truggy, which you guys haven't seen in a long time. It's my Losi 8T. I should fix that, but I've been using the tires on this. Here are the paddle tires I've been installing. In fact, I've already done 3 before I went ahead to show you a tutorial on how to do this one. Just wanted to make sure that I was able to do everything first and kind of refresh myself on how to do tires. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. Now it's time to install the tire on the back of this Savage and get it out to see how much fun we can have with those tires. And I'm going to use a 5/16 socket. Just a small ratchet. Now I found that these Savage wheel nuts love to come undone. And so I do use a bit of Loctite to keep them in place. Because when you lose one of these nuts, they're not like the standard average. Here, I'll show you. See, it actually has like a built-in washer behind that nut. But when these tires are moving at high speeds, these can actually fly off very easily. So I try to put a little bit of Loctite on there, even though I use red, not a big deal. Get it in there. Ta-da. Never really poses a problem, especially because I use a ratchet. So I'll put this in place. There, what a nice difference that makes. Get the wheel nut back in place. Mini ratchet facing the right direction. Beauty. Tighten that up. Perfect. Let's back it up and get a good look at it. That darn HPI plastic, when it gets cold, it becomes brittle as heck. Look at that one wrong move, but it is pretty darn cold outside. I'm like living in a deep freeze here. So the steering hub busted right there. And check it out. One jump, so cold. But you can even tell by the plastic, hey, it does really well in the warm weather, but in the cold, not so good. Well, only one thing to do, fix it. That's the hobby for you, hey? No big deal. I have an extra arm and steering hub here. Just a couple of screws. It can look intimidating to begin with, but as long as you tackle it systematically and you kind of got a general idea of what you're doing, just want to remove the drive pin and the hex adapter there before anything else. Undo the top and bottom screw for the steering spindle. Well, really it's used as a steering spindle, but it also just holds the links in place, like the rods for steering. There we are. I'm going to turn it here. I'm just going to move this bumper plate out of the way so I can access this kingpin right here. Start pulling this out. Now I can access this piece and pop and slide the broken arm out of place. Get this one back in place. Thank you. Yeah, keep going.